Who is Jason Wilcox? What even is a technical director? And why should Manchester United fans be excited about the appointment of somebody in the footballing structure? Give me 8 minutes of your time, and I'll hopefully answer all of those questions and tell you the full story about what's going on with Man United's pursuit of Jason Wilcox. Currently, Southampton sporting director of football, call it what you want. But Ineos have identified him to work with Omar Barada and Dan Ashworth. But a bit like Newcastle with Dan Ashworth, Southampton are digging their heels in. I'll explain it all. If you can, please drop a like on the video. I think you'll enjoy this one. Now, let's rewind to when this first came around, this story. And this is why I don't particularly think, just personally, I might, red tinted specs and all that. Southampton are apparently angry that we've approached Southampton at this point of the season. How dare you? You're the reason that we lost 3-2 to Ipswich. Going after our technical director, our sporting director like that. This is back in February from David Ornstein, when we started work on appointing him. Now, Southampton, you've had nearly 2 months there, in the knowledge that Manchester United are approaching and headhunting Jason Wilcox. If you can't get your contingency plans in place in that time, well, that ain't our fault, all right? You need to operate better as a business. Might be a little bit harsh to say. Anyway, this is how the story has developed over the last 24 hours. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but it was Sky Sports who actually broke the story. That must be the first time I've said that in a long time. Seriously. Manchester United have made an approach for Jason Wilcox. That came yesterday afternoon. Well, actually, yesterday morning. And Fabrizio Romano then dropped a bit of a bomber, saying that he had handed in his resignation. He's like, United came calling. He goes, Southampton, lads. I really enjoyed the last 9 months. It's great down here. Love it on the coast. Yeah. But see you later, lads. United are there. Because the Ineos United project, probably the most exciting in football. If whoever it is that gets Manchester United back to the top, it's going to be it is a legacy achievement. Sorry, Southampton. Russell Martin, Southampton boss, was asked about what's going on with Jason Wilcox, and he says, look, I've not spoken to the club about it. You know my feelings on Jason. I'll have a chat with him after. I've just had a text from him saying how proud I was of the performance. He lost 3-2. Anyway, Southampton are very much taking a similar stance to how Newcastle have reacted to Manchester United headhunting Dan Ashworth. I'll run through the latest here from the Times. Southampton are ready to insist that Jason Wilcox serves his 12-month notice period. Now, spoke about this on the live show this morning, and yeah, it probably is kind of fair for senior positions to have far longer notice periods, but bearing in mind he's been in the job for 9 months. Imagine serving a 12-month notice period for a job that you've been in for less than 12 months. Bit mad. Southampton are unhappy with United making an official approach for their director of football during a key part of the season. As I said, and I've just shown there, we first, I don't know whether we made our approach, but we first started working on Jason Wilcox and an idea of bringing him in back in February. I'm telling you, Southampton would have been angry at any point, regardless of when it was. So I don't think the timing is really part of it. Talks between the two clubs have not progressed well. Southampton have rejected United's opening offer, which was to pay a full year of Wilcox's salary. So as it stands, Wilcox has resigned. Wilcox, not in talks with anybody else. I think there was random stories that suggested that Liverpool were talking with him too, but I think that Liverpool are going to appoint a Benfica technical director, I think, to work underneath Micah Ledwoods, an FSG. I think so. Southampton are doing what Newcastle did with Dan Ashworth. I'm telling you, it's just they are two clubs who are just, and I can understand it. I don't even mean that in a sarcastic sense. Like, Man United have come knocking and taken the sporting director who's the head honcho at Newcastle, and then, sorry lads, I'm not interested in this anymore because Man United have come calling. Sorry lads. And Jason Wilcox is doing the same thing. Now, I don't know how much this compensation is going to be, but we're in a similar situation. I imagine the numbers will be smaller and easier to resolve with Jason Wilcox. So I imagine there's probably a quicker resolution than there is with Dan Ashworth. But in terms of who he is, I might do a deeper dive on Jason Wilcox, but not just now. If you follow his path, you go back to him playing in the Premier League with Blackburn back in the day. But his first steps into City came when he became the under-18s boss. Actually got them to consecutive FA Youth Cup finals. Lost both of them to Chelsea. I think that's when Chelsea won it like 5 times in a row. There's quite a few players that you would know that were inside that squad, including, the Fulham defender, who's a free transfer this summer, who actually played quite well against us. I can't remember, is it Tosin Adarabioyo? I think it is. He was the captain for his under-18s team at that time. So maybe you could see that coming in as a free transfer, Wilcox. Woo. Anyway, he was under-18s. Boss got promoted to the academy director, and he worked there as the academy director at City from when Guardiola came in. You want to know a mad stat? Since he came in and was the academy director at City, they've made over £450 million worth of sales just from academy players. And in that same time frame, Man United have made around £75 million. That is some difference. And when it comes to player sales, academy sales, we know we undervalue and undersell everybody. Zidane Iqbal, he may not have had the quality to make it through, but 1 million with the sell-on clause? Alvaro Fernandez, maybe he won't. He's not making it at Benfica right now, but 6 million for the sell-on clause? We should be getting significantly more money than that, and Wilcox has certainly got experience of that. And of course, he went across and became Southampton's director of football, was it 9 months ago? 20th of January. Maybe a little bit more than 9 months. I thought it was 9 months. That suggests otherwise. Or maybe he didn't actually come into this. Sod knows. Either way, Southampton, they're pissed. Southampton, they're angry. But the big question here that a lot of you have got, what even does a technical director do? 2 places we're going to look for that. Firstly, this is Manchester United's actual definition of what Darren Fletcher's role was as technical director at the club when he was appointed. He will work closely with John Murtough to add technical input and direction into all football and performance areas. He will focus on a coordinated and long-term approach to player and squad development, helping maintain the integral link between the academy and the first team, aligned with Manchester United's values and culture. Now, I think it's fair to say that sort of role kind of changed for Darren Fletcher. And these are words from the man himself speaking about what his role is at Manchester United, and kind of, it's not really what it says there.
What's your role there? Because my mates all love football, and they're like, what's Fletch do? You talk to him.
Technical director is my title, but for me, I'm part of the first team coaching staff, but as a support coach. So you've got the manager, you've got Mitchell van der Gaar, you've got Steve McLaren. So I'm obviously plugged in as a support coach, but my link really on the first team is the link with the under-21s. So the path.
And that is where that role kind of, you can see there, you can talk about the pathway between the academy and the first team. And if we're thinking about what Jason Wilcox has done at Man City, being the under-18s boss, taking them to FA Youth Cup finals, being the academy director, overseeing the growth of that academy, let's be honest, City have produced a lot of good players. And it's only until I've already done my video on the resurgence of Manchester United's academy, but Jason Wilcox was a big part of that. And if you think about how could he fit in as a technical director at Manchester United, could he be that link between the academy and the first team? He absolutely could. Got bags of experience in that. Looking at Jason Wilcox's track record and what he's done at City and also at Southampton, he's not going to come in and be a recruitment guru. Dan Ashworth does have some experience in that. I suppose in the same way that Omar Barada has some experience in that. I wouldn't say either of them I wouldn't say any of the trio really are recruitment specialists. But altogether, maybe they make a perfect team that complemented each other well. That's one potential solution, but also maybe there is room for a head of recruitment on top. But this is who Jason Wilcox is, right? That's what a technical director does. Southampton, they're angry. They are lashing out. I can't imagine this is going to be as difficult a negotiation on the final compensation compared to what Newcastle are doing with Dan Ashworth. But given what he's done with the academy at City, given that he's been promoted to a director of football role at Southampton, I'm excited about the idea of it. And Ineos have headhunted him, chosen him, and more importantly, I suppose, Omar Barada has chosen him. Now, Southampton are angry, but there's a bit of a United pull returning. Just ask Barada and ask Dan Ashworth. He's on gardening leave. Wilcox has resigned, and Barada's already in.